Hello, everyone. I'm going to let Lalitha do the introductions today.
Hi again. Thank you, Gary. Welcome, everyone, to our channels, Shrimp Lab and Gary Gomez. It's Lalita here. And we're going to talk about a power planet, Mars. I love Mars, but I know many astrologers love to hate Mars. So hopefully this conversation will bring, a new point of view that can be helpful. I never criticize other people's stance or point of view on astrology, especially if it's Vedic astrology, because we are human, and also we're not supposed to be all alike, right? And there's even a curse by Shiva, if I remember well, that says astrologers will always disagree, and that's how it is. All right, so according to me, Mars is a very key planet for your success. And without a strong Mars in your birth chart, you may not take action at the right time. You may not be timely in your work. You may not have that initiative, that youthfulness, that input to new life that we need every once in a while to stay fresh and reinvent ourselves and be adventurous, not foolishly adventurous, hopefully. We are trying to
Yep.
be adventurous in a healthy way. So a good Mars is again athletic, youthful, strong. He's the Karaka of strength, but also the Karaka of action, right? As I said, and also courage. So without courage, nothing happens. Whether you're an athlete, in business, in anything you need, a dancer, a painter, it doesn't matter. You need to be able to have the courage and go out there and do something in the world where you create something new. So it's a new start. Also, Mars rules the eighth house, the natural eighth house, Scorpio. So, as I said, as I didn't say, actually, it's important to say, Mars rules Aries. Aries is the first, it's the baby, the new life on Earth, trying to learn things by doing things. And also, Mars rules Scorpio. It's a different energy altogether. It's a much more introspective energy, a little more subdued, a little more seething, anger that is suppressed and hidden, maybe more shyness in expressing their point of view. Scorpios, great people with a great desire of knowing the truth about life and the secrets of life, etc. The eighth house can be also troublesome. The house of magic. You don't want to do that. According to me, it's not helpful and confuses and backfires big time. All right. The other thing I can say about Mars, Mars is strong in Aries. Mars is strong in Scorpio. Mars is strong in Capricorn, where it gets exalted. Why? Because Saturn says, hey, Mars, calm down. Do your job. Do everything you can about this one thing, and you'll become a great at it. And so Mars is controlled by Saturn. Saturn wins, and Mars has to behave. Having said that, then Mars gives amazing results, whether it's career or other thing that Capricorn rules for you. My mother had exalted Saturn and, Mars, uh, even in Avamsha, both. It was Vargotama. And she always was doing a million things, all successfully, and she was an amazing person. She was seen writing an article, typing, and going and preparing dinner for 30. That night she was hosting a dinner, and then she was embroidering something and also making a little gem on the side. This is what I remember. It's always the same example, but pretty much my whole life as I was growing up, my mother was like that. And now Mars is in the opposite direction, literally opposite Capricorn, Cancer. What is Cancer? The sweet feelings of a mother. It's caring for other people. It's psychology, because the moon is the mind and rules the psyche. Also, the emotional life, the true love. When you give without expecting anything in return, whether it's your patients, you're a nurse or a doctor, right? A therapist. And also the mother, because we have a mother archetype within that we want to take care of people and we want to nurture them. We want to make sure they have everything they need. Okay, so this comes on and off, but a mother usually is consistent that way. So now you put a warrior there. Did I say that Mars is a warrior? Right? So Mars can break things if we are not careful. But I've seen a lot of gentle people with Mars in Cancer in their birth charts. So it's not like a horrible thing to happen to everyone. And Gary, I think you said you would say by sign what
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So you'll get Gary's special predictions for
Yeah.
Mars in.
Eh,
And 1 second, sorry, I want
yeah.
to quick,
Go
quick
on.
think about a description of what happens when this warrior is not really an evil warrior. If you think that, uh, you agree, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
Mars,
definitely.
and he's the son of Shiva and Bhumi, the goddess, the earth goddess. So he worshipped Shiva so much. He's a very spiritual planet. So if you put Mars to do the right thing, you'll be very good at that thing. And you'll be very determined and disciplined. So if you're a spiritual person and Mars can rule something spiritual in your birth chart, you're all set, because Mars will make you wake up at 4 and do your meditation in Brahma Muhurta. He will make you do all the things, go to the initiations, show up for yourself, and do what you need to do to evolve also spiritually. Okay, so now Mars in Cancer is also receiving the aspect, so the influence of Saturn. That is not a very happy thing, especially for Aries, Scorpios. We can see that for those signs, it's really tough, and it can bring different things, different ailments or issues, maybe with the brother, the mother, the headaches, etc. But now let's hear from Gary and what he has to say about all the signs. Can't wait.
Yeah. And I just want to add a special, like a few special significations of Mars, which aren't commonly discussed. Mars, essentially, as you indicated, is actually one of the more spiritual planets. It's really, it's surprising to some people when they hear that, but it's actually the planet which encourages people to go out in the woods and renounce and be by themselves. So there was the infamous story, or the famous story of Ganesha and Kartikeya. Kartikeya is Mars, sitting in front of their parents Shiva and Parvati.
Murugan, no?
Yeah,
I
Morgan,
have a little statue here.
and
Like,
and they were going to be given Radiant City, essentially knowledge and power, as their two wives. But they had to go around the universe in order to accomplish this goal. Morgan, without thinking, took off. He, so
Murugan
so
is
so
like
so
the
so so so
spiritual warrior. Yes.
so so so
On its peacock, right? On a peacock.
that's right. So just overall, when things happen during Mars subperiods for people, they happen quickly. I've noticed that through the years. There's hardly any buildup issues. So Mars is essentially Kalika for accidents, right? Basically, so car accidents, there's more of a tendency.
Yeah, also in the fourth house, either natural fourth house or your personal fourth house, it can
Yeah,
bring some fire in the kitchen or
yeah,
things like that. Actually,
yeah,
that happened to me
yeah, yeah,
a little,
yeah,
many years ago. Yeah.
yeah. So essentially, Mars or Mercury came back, whereas Ganesha just circled around his parents 3 times, and he said to his and they said, "What are you doing? Why don't you run after Murugan, where he's traveling the universe?" And he was saying, "This is Shiva and Parvati. This is the universe right here."
Oh, yes, it's a beautiful story.
And,
I love it. I love the story.
and Murugan came back and said, I'm going to have to think over what I did. I better go out in the woods and meditate. Okay, so essentially,
I didn't know about that part, that he
yeah,
went
yeah,
to the
yeah,
forest
yeah,
after that. I
yeah,
know that Ganesha is the super intelligent, but also Muruga taught, yeah, the Om sound to his
yeah,
father.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
So yeah. So Mars in some contexts is considered the guru of gurus. He's considered the teacher of teachers because he actually gives the action to the gurus' words.
No,
Also,
great.
also he's the indicator of land or property.
Yes, real estate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and also in some ways you could view him as being the owner of songs,
Mhm.
which may sound weird, but essentially of the four Vedas, Mars owns Samaveda, which are essentially the hymns of the Vedas. It's also a logical planet, so essentially, you would need to have a prominent Mars in order to be a good lawyer or a good politician.
To
Uh,
battle in
yes,
those problems.
so essentially, and,
Beautiful.
and Mars and Mercury combinations are like standard combinations for lawyers and politicians.
Yes.
But basically, if we go to the signs, so I'm just like I like those little tidbits because I really got fascinated by Mars years ago. Basically, you have so it's an action planet, so it's in Cancer. So karma tends to get a little bit frustrated, especially with the Saturn aspect on it. So Saturn's going to be aspecting it during this entire transit through Cancer, through Karka. So essentially, Mars basically is in the heart right now. So
And Venus is there, so
yeah.
a lot of action.
Yeah. So so essentially, a lot of people will will essentially be hurt more easily if Mars is in Cancer. They'll feel more pain. They'll be more impatient to a certain extent. And and you're absolutely right. A lot of spiritual people were born with that combination in their charts. But I think that's also what tends to make them develop their spiritual side more.
You mean
Yeah,
Mars Cancer?
the
Yes,
Mars and
kind of
Cancer.
very gentle people, but also easily frustrated, but in
Yeah,
a
yeah,
hidden way, because I noticed the water signs are so introverted
yeah,
and yeah, emotional.
yeah.
But
So
I notice people with Mars in the first house, they're more spiritual.
yeah,
They also break their relationship, but still
yeah.
they need that solitude to be very disciplined. Like
Yeah,
yeah, like
and that's one of the roots of Mars affliction, right? It's essentially Mars affliction or Mongol dosha. It's a condition where Mars is in. There are a variety of opinions, but 12th, first, second, fourth, seventh, eighth houses. There are some cancellations, obviously, in a chart, but we won't go into all those right now. But
right.
but
Chabanga, yes, there
yeah,
are different conditions. Also, the
yeah,
dosha can change.
yeah,
There's several ways to cancel that Mars
yeah.
dosha, you know, that
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes, and that's where the astrologer comes in. The astrologer can tell you essentially or can advise you on ways to
people freak out.
yeah
Even in Rama's chart, there was a Mars dosha. He was a
yeah
king and he was a warrior, a kshatriya.
yeah
So, duh. It's normal, right?
yeah. But
It
he was
wasn't a bad thing.
but he was separated from his wife.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
so that was how the Mars affliction.
yeah, and he had Mars in the fourth house, so he had to leave his motherland. So lots of
Yep,
things.
yep. He had to wander. He had to wander away from home.
Yes.
So essentially, how that's going to affect different signs. Aries will find itself a little bit more emotional. Aries like that, or Moon will find itself a little bit more emotional or a little bit more and having more difficulty in relationships and at work. And that's mainly because it's aspect in the fourth, and also with friends. Also, there'll be more arguments with friends because it's also aspecting Jupiter in Aquarius
Maybe
right now.
something with a brother or
Yeah, yeah,
with
exactly.
male son.
Yeah, yeah, and also, and if we move to Taurus, it'll give that sign much more ambition, but they'll feel muted or frustrated because of the Saturn aspect as well. So I think one of the interesting things I've seen about Saturn Mars aspects in charts is if it's in the natal chart, the person's always waiting for exactly the right time to do something. And as you and I know, Lalitha, with few exceptions, there's never exactly the right time to do something. There's always some reason not to do something. So that Mars Saturn opposition sets up that this perfectionistic streak in a chart,
It's
which,
also fear, right? A little
yeah,
bit of fear.
fear of making the wrong decision or fear of making the wrong stuff. I have it to a certain extent. I don't have it exact, but I have it to a certain extent. And also, so Taurus will have some problems with brothers and siblings, as well as some anger or some, but also more courage than normal, but also more frustration than normal over the next month and a half. It'll also affect inheritances, so there will probably be some delays in inheritances, and also it'll affect that sign's overall career life, just because of the aspect to the ninth house, the ninth and the 10th houses, excuse me. But it'll also give that combination more ability to overcome enemies. With Gemini, Lagna, or Moon, you'll see a lot of anger coming out of the person usually, or maybe even disappointment coming out of the person. And you'll also see some problems with children coming up because of the Mars aspect on the 5th house, and more arguments with children, more arguments with lovers, perhaps, in terms of what makes a person happy, and also some problems with overall relationship life, because Mars will be aspect in the 7th and the 8th houses. I'm sorry, it'll be aspect in the 8th and the 9th house, excuse me.
The finances for Gemini.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yep. So finances may actually come in, the person may achieve a higher status, but they won't feel emotionally satisfied with that. They'll want more. For Cancer, this is one of the more obvious placements. Cancer has Mars right in it. Now for Cancer, this is a kind of an interesting combination, because it's not only debilitated there, but it's also what's called the Raj Yoga Karaka planet for that particular rising sign. So it's sort of a mixed blessing. There are positives to Mars being in Cancer for Cancer Moon or Lagna, because it rules the 10th house and the 5th house. So
in theory, it's a Dana yoga, but in reality, it's very tough.
Yeah, yep. So
sensitive people.
Yeah. Oh yes. So essentially, you'll give good fortune, but the person will have to fight, and they'll have to fight battles they don't want to fight. Also, with Saturn in the 7th house aspecting it backwards, or aspecting back on Mars, you'll also see some problems with siblings as well, and our relationship partners, but also siblings, especially father. I'm sorry, not siblings, but father and other family members, because of Saturn's aspects. For Leo, the Lord will be in the 12th house, so there'll be a lot of money spent on property or maybe home matters, because Leo, and there'll be a lot of hidden anger connected with, or even insomnia connected with this sign. So,
and they should wait before investing in real estate.
Yeah, right? Yes, exactly. So,
do you remember when Mars moves to Leo?
I think it's going to, it will be around mid-September, if I recall. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
It's around mid-September, if I recall correctly.
Okay, no,
So
don't have the figure. Okay, I trust that's true. Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be roughly the same time that Jupiter moves back into Capricorn, which will still be a rough time to invest. But the real estate market right now is it's interesting, because it's a very hot real estate market right now across the country. And so, or put it this way, it's a high demand real estate market right now. So people are probably spending more than they should on property at the current time. Go on.
I saw that Mars moves to Leo this July, this coming month at some point.
Good. Okay. So it's a lot.
Fortunately, it's not retrograding. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
Just wanted to give the heads up.
All right,
So Cancer, don't worry, will
all
get
right,
better.
all right. So that will actually give you good earning ability and good ability to invest. It's better placed in Leo than it is in Cancer. The Dharma Karma Adipati Raj Yoga works better in that particular sign. But again, Mars and Cancer, I do tend to see people with that combination, and they do tend to have good education and relatively good home lives, although they'll be a little bit fiery. But for this month, their temper will be a little bit overstretched. They'll feel a little bit more easily hurt. They'll feel a little bit more less in control of their emotions. So it will be a certain snappiness with that combination. With Leo, but again, as you said, with Leo, don't invest in real estate. It'll affect brothers and siblings for Leo, not for Cancer, and it'll also affect relationship life because it's aspecting the seventh house in the chart. So there'll tend to be more arguments with spouses. As a matter of fact, there aren't many signs that escape arguments or disagreements with spouses. Lalitha, I lost you. Okay, I'm just going to keep on going. All right, are you there? Oh,
Sorry, I'm back.
all right, no problem. All right. So, all right. All right. So I'm not seeing your camera, but I'll just, there you go. Okay. And there won't be many signs that will escape some arguments or some tension in relationships. To be honest with you, with this Mars transit, just because it's centered in the heart, it's centered in the emotional center. Also, Leo will have some arguments, and also that they should watch out for problems with inheritance or problems with inherited property, just because of Mars aspect on the 8th house in their chart. For people with Virgo Lagna, it's in the 11th house, so there will be difficulty with friendships, gains, financial gains, although any planet in the 11th house usually does some good things by its transit, but there will be problems with friends
So a
feeling.
little money will come, right? For
Yes, yep, definitely.
They will
money.
still get good gains. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep, and also at least from the chart, you'll see a lot of activity, but their speech will be a little bit harsher than normal. Their speech will be a little bit more. And that's mainly because Libra is being aspected by both Saturn and Mars at the same time right now. And we'll talk about Libra in a few minutes. But basically, at least from the chart, the areas of life that so friendships will be a little bit strained. Speech will be a little bit strained, but it's a good Dana yoga for the chart. And also, their ambitions will be very high because Mars rules Scorpio, where Ketu is right now. And this sign has ambitions very strongly.
Okay, I missed. Are you still talking about Virgo?
Yeah, I'm still talking about Virgo.
And it rules the 8th house, so it will be a mixed bag, right?
Yep. And also it aspects the 4th house. So again, emotional problems are connected with that sign. For Libra has Mars aspecting the 1st house, so that sign will actually feel energized somewhat, or will have more energy than normal, but it'll be emotional energy. And also, home life will be a little bit distressed, and life with children will be a little bit distressed, mainly because I'm just tracing the house patterns. That's what I'm doing with the cursor. For Scorpio will give some difficulty with higher education. It will give some delays or obstructions with higher education.
Could it be good for spirituality, maybe for them?
Yes, it would be. But I think one of the risks with this is they might expect more from the teacher than the teacher can give at that particular time, or there'll be obstructions or some barriers to spirituality just because of the Saturn aspect, and also because Mars is debilitated and it can't fight back all that well. So I think definitely emotionally the person will feel very drawn towards spirituality, Scorpio rising. But you can actually see it in President Biden's chart, based upon at least the line that I have, that he'll encounter some difficulties or delays.
So you're saying some frustrations in
Yeah,
that area of
yeah,
teachings and
yeah,
teachers and okay.
yeah, exactly. And essentially, but again, Scorpio likeness or moons will be very ambitious, so they'll feel a lot of drive. And also they'll be determined. They won't give up that easily. For Sagittarius has Cancer is the eighth house for this particular sign, so there will be some obstructions or some delays in, and also some arguments with relationship partners. So, like I said, there aren't many signs that escape that. And also, but also from the chart, and some arguments over money, because money has been, or
We're
energy.
still in Sadisati, no? Last
Yeah, yeah,
stretch of Sadisati.
yep, exactly. So energy connected with money making is a little bit limited. You know, this sign has to work twice as hard to make the same amount of money as other signs do. But still, and Mars aspects also Aquarius, which is the third house, so it's not going to give up very easily. For Capricorn Lagna, again, relationship problems show up.
May I interject very
Sure.
briefly? I notice that Sagittarius are very, very scared right now about money, even though nothing has changed for many of them, for the ones I've seen. But they're really, really worried, like freaked out about money. And really, there's not, because actually Saturn is strong, right?
Yeah,
This is not the worst of their sadisati, it's getting better.
yeah,
But it doesn't feel that way. It feels very strained, yeah.
yeah. And I think one of the things that contributes to that is people are sensing that Jupiter's heading backwards into Capricorn again. So
Yeah.
essentially the ruler of Sagittarius is compromised. It feels like it's not
Good
moving
point,
forward.
yeah.
It's not moving forward. And also Mars is aspecting Jupiter right now as well.
Yeah, that's
So
a good point, yeah.
and the sixth house, which is the house of enemies, is
Eighth
occupied.
aspect to Jupiter, yeah.
Yeah, and the sixth house is occupied by Rahu, and Ketu's in the 12th, so there's a fear of loss of everything.
Mhm.
You know, so
Good point, yeah.
yeah,
Excellent, yeah.
yeah. So so essentially, this isn't, again, it's more of a fear. The chart I use in the United States is a Sagittarius rising chart. You know, a lot of people use different charts for the United States. That's the one that I tend to like. But there are other charts that are equally as valid. So that's why we're seeing a lot of anxiety about inflation right now, anxiety about economic
Right.
growth,
May
etc.
I ask you a question about
Yeah,
this? We just thought about it. There was this news that Dr. Pillai mentioned that he saw that in the Wall Street Journal, their projection, their expectations are very good, actually. The next 2 years will be a great time financially
yeah,
for the United States. So I've seen other analyses that don't reflect that, but that's a pretty solid one because it comes from all the corporations and,
yeah,
and their inside information. I'm sure they're very knowledgeable.
yeah.
So yeah, I also feel optimistic about that, intuitively speaking. What's your
I,
take?
I think no, I think we are gonna we are I predicted last year we were gonna see a fairly quick turnaround. If I look at the U.S. chart, at least that I use, we're in a Saturn subperiod right now, so it's going to be slower than we want it to be. But I think overall, by this time next year, we'll be pretty close to a peak in the economy. So I don't think it's gonna snap around right away. But I also don't believe a lot of the pessimistic predictions that are coming out right now about hyperinflation and because I have an MBA, they're founded on fallacious economic assumptions. To be honest, so it's not that I'm a know-it-all and I know everything
Yes.
about business, but a lot of it's based around government spending causing inflation, which is you have to have a certain set of characteristics in order for that to happen. And a lot of the inflation is being caused by limited supply right now. That's as far as I can see. So I think actually over the next year and a half, you're going to see a lot of positive growth. Inflation higher than we've experienced for a while, but I think it'll moderate towards the middle of next year. So all right. So getting back to our friend Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is essentially in the rising sign, or the sign itself is in that interesting combination of being surrounded by malefics. Essentially the Papakatari yoga combination. So it has Ketu on one side and Saturn on the other. So I think that's also where a lot of the anxiety may be coming from too. Okay.
Yes, especially if Sagittarius is the moon, I can see that really strongly.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So that's scissors yoga, right? All right. So to the audience who doesn't know about that, essentially, when you have benefic planets on either side of a sign or a planet, it's a Shubha Katara yoga. It protects the house. If you have malefic planets on either side, it's a Papa Katara yoga. It's considered to be inauspicious or difficult, or the sign will feel, the sign or the planet will feel trapped, basically.
Right. I noticed also one thing, that some astrologers take the Papa Kartari yoga also when it's not necessarily in the second house and
Yeah.
in the 12th.
Yep.
It can be in the third and with no planets in between, or in the fourth
Yep.
and no planets in between. There's some,
Yep.
I don't find that to be as bad, but some people consider it still
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
I've heard that it'll have some effect, but not as profound. I don't think it's profound in effect as planets which are adjacent. It's an expanded way of reading the chart, which I'm in favor of. But like I said, it's not quite as pronounced. So that there are degrees of pain. So when you go to the doctor asks you on a degree of 1 to 10, how much pain are you in? So the Papa Katari is like the Thai Papa Katari yoga with planets on either side of another planet is like a 10 plus. That's maybe like a 5. Further you spread them out. So I think that as astrologers we have to look at finer shadings, because it's our job to interpret it, not just to say that's a Papa Katara yoga. Well, what does that mean? How is that going to affect me?
And it's also intuitive, so you have to put it all together.
Yep,
You cannot
exactly.
be just logical about it.
Yep, exactly. So you have to allow for degrees and adjustments, and also for free will, obviously. Okay. So you can have a ferocious dog. Let's say, I'll use a dog as an example. You can have a ferocious dog in front of you, but what are you going to do about it? Are you going to throw it a stick, or are you going to give it a piece of meat, or you're going to run away from it? How are you going to handle it? So are you going to let it smell your finger and hope that makes them friendly? There's a variety of ways you can handle situations. Okay. So,
or running away.
Running away, yeah, sure. No, I mean, running away is a valid strategy.
I can see myself doing that.
If you're running away is if you're encountering a situation in which you absolutely cannot win. Running away is a valuable survival strategy. There's nothing wrong with running away.
I was actually kidding, but yes, you're right. So there, I believe in free will, and that's why I believe we can change also a bad destiny,
Yep.
because the destiny is not written in stone.
Right.
It's actually up to you what you do, and if you have good karma through good deeds, you will meet a good astrologer who will give you remedies,
Right.
and bad planets will stop causing trouble. Yeah.
Right.
At least to a great extent, 20% minimum, which is huge if you
Yep.
think,
Oh yeah, sure.
certain problem keeps reoccurring and 20% it gets better. That's a lot
Yep.
of benefit.
And that's a perfect segue. As we're talking about the planet of action, and we're talking about the ultimate sign connected with action, which is Capricorn, the sign of, essentially karma in the world. So Capricorn has Saturn in the retrograde right now, and Mars aspecting it. So there's a desire to move forward for this sign. There's a desire to expand because Saturn's aspecting the third house away. There's a desire to um, form partnerships or form groups because Saturn's aspecting Libra. But that Mars again will make it a little bit afraid of making the wrong decision. But it'll probably be less affected by this transit than most other signs because it's already used to having a little bit of a hard time already. It's used to work.
They work when everybody else gives up. They're
Yeah,
still working,
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
pretty amazing people, actually.
yeah,
They are incredible. How they achieve so much and they can do so much.
yeah. So that sign is not damaged as much by these negative, and it's got Jupiter in the second house, which is fairly good.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome, especially with the moon, right?
yeah, that's right.
That's a
That's right.
great thing to have. Yeah,
Right.
great transit. Yeah.
Okay. Aquarius has some problems because is it's in the sixth house of enemies. Okay, so that debilitated Mars is in the sixth house of enemies. But there's a good side to that. That means their enemies are weak, basically, or their enemies are overly emotional. But it can cause some health problems for them. It can cause digestive issues for them. It can cause um, some problems with.
From stress, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. Yeah. So so I think that whenever you have that kind of a combination, so um, you have a planet involved in the sixth house and is aspecting the ninth house, it will also negatively affect luck. So people might not let you do as much as you want to do. It's people might or you may feel frustrated or a little bit boxed in. Not as badly as Sagittarius is, but certainly that's there. And also it is aspecting um, it's not aspecting Scorpio, but it's aspecting Aries. So the sign of action I'm sorry, Saturn's aspecting Aries, but Mars is can aspecting Aquarius. So
Quick question, because I know today we're going to be having a shorter broadcast, right?
yeah,
Um, so I noticed that Aquarius are struggling, working way too much and making almost no
yep,
money.
yep,
But it will not last. But they've just started Sadisati. They have the strong
yep,
Saturn, and that's really frustrating them.
yep.
But yeah, but don't lose hope.
Yeah, no.
It will come.
Sade satis often elevate people. So,
Mhm. Yes, especially
so
Aquarius. Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of times if you're worried about the 7.5 years of Saturn, as Saturn going into the 12th, the first, and the second houses, there are a bunch of yogas, like things like Panasi yogas, which can lessen the effect. And a lot of people rise to high political office during Sade Satis. Or they
Right.
or they or they, or they
I
rise to high
forgot the
positions.
question. Oh no.
Oh, that's okay.
The question was, have you noticed that Aquarius are like toiling a lot,
Oh,
laboring a
oh,
lot,
oh, oh, I,
working
I,
overtime?
I, I certainly do. I have an Aquarius moon. Yeah, yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
you
So I
just
see,
started
yeah,
study. So you find that you're working extra hours.
yeah, yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
it will get better because it's your
Oh yeah,
planet.
oh
So
yeah.
Saturn does not affect, I think, Capricorn and Aquarius like the rest of us.
No,
It'll
it,
be
no,
fine.
it was actually a good time for me in terms of what I would call a rise in position. The last time it happened, I'm old enough to remember the last time it happened. I'm old enough to remember the first time it happened. This is my third one. So I was a teen. I was a kid going into my teen years when we were doing my first one, and I got accepted into a very competitive school. So
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah, I find that the Saturn is always awesome for Aquarius, no matter where it is.
yeah. So so Saturn, so those signs, Capricorn and Saturn, Capricorn and Aquarius, know there's always work to be done. It's not the other signs are lazy, but they're just presented with that as like a fact of life early on. And moving on to Pisces, Pisces has a lot of these planets in its 11th house. A lot of the planets affecting its 11th house, affecting its 5th house of children and create and politics to a certain extent. And also, it's I have to think now for a second. And also, it's 8th house, which is Libra, and also it's um, 9th house, which is Scorpio, if I recall. No, it's not. It's affecting is affecting Mars is affecting is
So it's the fifth house. Is it going to affect investments? Should I wait, Pisces? Just a
yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. So
I will
so the
not
house
invest a
so
lot
the
of money,
yeah,
right?
so the house of speculation is not good for it's not good for speculation, but in some ways it is good for investment in real estate because real estate.
Second Lord in fifth sounds good, but
Yeah, yeah,
debilitated with Saturn. So
yeah.
what's your take on that?
I I I would say again, a lot of people are probably paying too much for property right now, which seems to be the case. The real estate market's very, very hot right now, and it's mainly because of low interest rates. But I've been hearing like some ridiculous amounts of money being offered for property, and there's a housing shortage as well because of COVID. So I think that those two factors in kind, if you're gonna, I I don't like to recommend waiting because then prices may go up. But I think if you wait until the summertime or later in the summertime,
So
uh,
investing real estate, it's good, but what about speculation? That's what I
speculation in terms of stocks and bonds,
not so
probably not as much because we've seen a lot of volatility in markets, and especially in what I would call commodities. So like cryptocurrency or something like that, I wouldn't invest in cryptocurrencies for at least another month or so. It just strikes me as being too. I'm uncomfortable with cryptocurrencies just in general. I know they've made a lot of money for a lot of people, but um, I, I gain the same feeling I got.
I feel like that's like a Rahu thing, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
new
yeah,
technology, lots
yeah.
of excitement,
Well,
a
you
little
remember the
confusion.
you remember the dot-com bubble and the dot-com bust. This reminds me a little bit of it. So a lot of people will make money from it. If it becomes a permanent currency or a permanent medium of exchange, it'll pay off. But I'm just a little bit concerned about it. Personally, I'm just a little concerned about it. But I'm not saying the chart. Actually, I've seen pictures of the chart that people have drawn up for it. The chart looks really good, but again, I wouldn't invest in oil or gas or anything that comes out from out of the ground, not for at least a month. And I would try to stay away from Cancer's also aspecting that signs. Is aspecting the 8th house of Libra, and it's aspecting the both the 11th house of gains and the 12th house of losses. So it's Pisces is sort of stuck in an uncomfortable position of what it invests in. It may lose pretty quickly. So if not now, about 2 years from now. So I'm just a little bit. I recommend that sign to be particularly cautious in investments. So they do short-term investing, they'll probably be okay. If they do long-term investing, I would try to consolidate my
Be
resources
conservative, right? They
before
should be
Saturn enters Cat.
conservative, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Before
agree.
Saturn
I
enters
agree.
Aquarius.
Mhm.
All right, so that's it.
Right.
That's
Doing
Mars for the
great.
signs.
I
Okay,
enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much.
thank you, Lisa.
Thank you all for watching. See you soon.
Okay, see you soon, and be well, everyone, and be careful out there. They're driving. At least where I live, they're driving a
Yes,
little.
drive safely,
Yeah,
everyone.
they're driving a little nutty. Okay,
All right. Yes. Goodbye.
goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.